What is going on, everybody? You filthy! No, I'm not even going to go there today. So, here's the deal, gang. Those of you that are still interested in the PS3, check this out. The BG tool set's down again. They found a workaround. So, this is going to be my last time doing this. I've done one or two over the last 6-7 years, but I am going to give you a complete walkthrough today. Complete. Thorough. And I'm going to show you how to actually jailbreak your PS3 without using a web browser, without using the website. Because those of you that depend on that, every time this shit goes down, you're dead in the water. Eflashers. Oh my God, you can pick these things up for 30, 40 bucks. And let me show you guys this. I'm going to minimize this down. I am going to pull this up. So first of all, here's Homeboy's site. There was some SSL certificate issue with this, and you're getting an error. Now, they did post a workaround that if you're not computer literate, you're going to have a tough time doing it. So I want to show you here, too. If you go over to Eflashers, I don't know who the hell thinks they're getting $451, but, you know, you've got it here. Here's one for 50 bucks. Here's one down here for $32.75. These are very easy to get. And I'm going to minimize that, pull this back up. Let me grab this. If you look, they're very easy, very simple to use. You don't have to be a computer genius to do this horse shit. So today, I'm going to pause this. I'm going to set everything up, and I'm going to show you exactly what you're going to need. We're going to go step by step, and we're going to jailbreak one today. Now, this particular console is on 4.91. This is a jailbreakable, downgradable console. Okay, so this has nothing to do with Hen or any other horseshit model. This is from your 2501Bs all the way down to the very beginning. So let's dig in. All right, gang, so let's get started. These are some of the basic tools you're going to need. And again, I've got a few things on here just because it makes it obvious. You technically don't need all this stuff. But first thing you're going to want, obviously, is you're going to want your Eflasher. That'll come with the clip cable when you first get it. I'm going to show you how to hook all that up today. Now, because we're doing a 2501A, I'm going to show you, this is just a little piece of wood that I taped up. And we need it because the NOR chip is not completely like exposed in this particular model. So I'll show you that. I got 2 cardboard tabs because we don't want to make contact with the board. Obviously, we're going to do this properly and we're going to repaste the chips. I've got an old hotel card that I use to spread the thermal paste. And then needle nose pliers. Now on the 2501A, they've got a clip cable at the very bottom of the Blu-ray drive, and it's a pain in the ass to get to. So you're going to want some needle nose. T8, torque security. This is to get the 4 screws out on the bottom bezel of the lip of the PS3. Now, in the 2001A, there's only 3 of them. I hand tighten the clamps over the RSX chip and the CPU. This is why it's the same thing, Phillips head. I don't like using a screw gun to do that because you don't want to strip them out. And then we're going to want the clamp. This is going to lock down the clip cable on the NOR chip. You'll notice I've got tape over this. Again, I don't want metal on metal to short any shit out. Alcohol. This is to clean the chips. So, no other reason. And then I always have, listen, this is over the course of all these years. I have every screw available to man for the PS3. So, in case something is broken or stripped or somebody previously took it apart and there's missing screws, I always make sure everything's put back together right. So that's about it. We're going to go ahead and get rocking. I'm going to set this up and we're going to tear this thing apart and jailbreak it. Okay. So the first thing we're going to want to do is remove all these. And surprisingly, it has all the rubber shams on it. Normally they don't. So you're going to remove all of these. We're going to get these out. And then, of course, you've got the security tab right here. So you got to remove that because that has another screw underneath it. And And then let me get my nail in there. Okay, so you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 of those you have to take out. Oh. Darn it. And then underneath this little door right here, you'll see there's a little rectangle door, is the hard drive screw. And that is why I got my other tip on here. And this is just a little blue screw. So we're going to set that right there. Again, if this is your first time, make sure you're separating and whatever you need to do to organize. I know where all these go. So now what you're going to look at is this is where you've got the security torques, and you've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now on the 25 or the 2000, this is 2501A. On the 2001, you only got these 3 right here. You don't have that 4th one. So we're going to go ahead, get that in here. You can actually get those if you go with like a knife. You can actually get the tip wedged in there, or a small flathead. But honestly, if you go up to like Harbor Freights, or I think even Walmart has them, you can get the little set of these, and they're like dirt cheap. But you're going to need the T8, so make sure that's in there. So let's get that out. Let's get that out, and you'll see I've got all 4 of those. So again, now we're ready to go. You're going to lift from the back. Yum. So this one isn't horrible. I've seen real raggedy looking ones. But again, this is why I always have my vacuum cleaner ready to go. Perfect. So now, next thing in line, you're going to remove the power cables from the power supply. And there's 2 screws. You've got one here and you've got one there. Both those have to come out. Then once you get that out, the power supply just lifts right out. Okay? So we're going to set that to the side. Now, you've got one screw right here that's holding in the Blu-ray drive. So we're going to go ahead and get that out. And again, there is a handful of different looking screws on this. So just make sure, again, I can't emphasize this enough, that you're organizing all this. You've got 3 cables back here that's got to come out. All 3 of those. So you just grab these. They pop right out. And then you definitely want to pop out the, what do you call it? Power button. So this is hanging just like that. So now this lifts out. And I'm actually going to try and show you this. Underneath here, you'll see that cable way down there. So it's a clasp. You basically just pop that up, and it lifts and takes that right out. But that's basically what you're getting out of there. So Blu-ray drive is out. Next thing we're going to do is unpop the power button. Now, I am going to vacuum that again real quick. And like I said, I'm not speeding this shit up. I'm doing this in real time. You're seeing exactly what this takes. I can generally get this jailbroken, clean, put back together, and firmware installed in about 30 minutes. Now, I have been doing it a while, but now you want to pop out the power plug. You want to take out the 2 power cables. We're going to set them out of the way. Now you've got your Wi-Fi cables. They run the distance here. So you can see, if you're looking on here, all you're going to do is take these and they pop right up. So once you get these out, you're going to wind them all the way down and you're done. Now, this is I'm going to tell you right now, right here, be careful with this. This is the power input for the fan. Sometimes these things get raggedy and old, and if you just grab by the wires and pull, I have done it once where I actually ripped that off the board and I had to solder it back on. So just using your thumbnail, just stick it on the edge there and make sure you unhook that. Get it out of there. So to get this out now, you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 little screws in there. So, and I'll show you. A couple of them are black. Screw. I always magnetize my tips too so I don't lose them. But you'll see these are 5 tiny little screws. So we're going to set those to the side. Now the one thing I didn't do that I normally have done already, once I take the hard drive screw out, you got the little door here. This just pops right off. So it's the door to the hard drive. You can grab this little clasp, pull the hard drive already, and you can see this already has a beard. So we're going to go ahead and shave that beard. Oh. This is also the opportunity. Look, if you're putting a bigger hard drive and you want to change your hard drive out, now's the time to do it. So again, you just take these 4 screws out, put your new hard drive in, the caddy, and then when you go to do it, you'll be ready to go. So this is ready to come out now. So you want to lift from the front and boom. See, this actually wasn't that bad as far as dirt-wise goes. So now you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 screws, and then you have these 2 black ones on the side. So you got a total of 7, and then you've got the heat sink clamps right here. So let's get these out first. So again, I've got all these out. Now this is what I was telling you I bring the big Phillips for, because I don't like using, it doesn't matter so much coming out, but I like hand tightening these because this is, you know, I have snapped these before by accident with a gun. And trust me, if you break the thread off in there, you're up shit creek, because these absolutely have to be tight. It's what keeps the heatsink over the chips, and it's what keeps them cool. So let me set those over there. Oh. Come on, dude. So usually, and I put these back in the same spot they went. So I'll usually set these out of the way so that they're in order and I know which way they went. Now, once that's done, this lifts right off, and you can set this out of the way. So what you want to do at this point, again, you're looking at the front here. I start over here, and I gently peel this up until it pops like that. So once you get that off, voila. So here's your NOR chip. That is where we write the bin file, and we replace it with the current one. You can see on here, this stuff, and I've explained this in many other videos, this should be gooey, kind of like thick peanut butter, and it's all dried and crusted, and that's what happens over time. So that's why it's very important, even for you thumb drive junkies, when you're just jailbreaking off the web, you're not pulling this apart, you're not cleaning it, you're not repasting the chips, and if you want the shit to last, this is what you need to do. Now, right now, I'm not going to paste these. That'll be the last thing we do. I want to get this out of the way because we need to take off the bottom plate. And there's only 2 screws for this, right here and right here. And again, we're going to set that out of the way. I've got these 2 screws, throwing them over there. Now, here goes the important part. So when you're looking at this, and I'm actually, you know what, let me zoom this in a little bit for you guys. Please configure. Okay. So we've got that. Let me back this up a little bit. Whoop, let me go this way. So here's your NOR chip. So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to take our clip cable, and the way you want this is going to fit right over this chip. And you should hear that clip like that. So the cable should be facing towards the chips. And then what we're going to do, and it's the one thing I flippin' forgot. Let me grab my tape real quick. Now you can use masking tape, or in my case, I'm using painter's tape. But what you want to do is you're going to take this cable, flip it over like that, and then you're going to put some tape on it, just to kind of hold it down. So now that's ready to go. So the next piece you're going to look at is, well, let's just do it like this. You're going to take your fan and heat sink. You're going to flip this over. Oh, let me move that out of the way. And we're going to put this on here like so. Now this is where these little cardboard tabs came in. These are going to prevent it from grounding out. So I set one in there, and I set one right there. Then what that allows me to do is set that on here. Get that in there. And we are going to, again, I get them started. And trust me, this really is not that difficult if you just take your time. All right, that's snug. That's snug. And that's snug. Perfect. So this is exactly how that should look, okay? So when we flip this over now definitely make sure you plug in your fan. Otherwise, you're going to burn your shit up. So key point here. So now what's got to happen, this is where this came into play that I told you about. You will see, and it's only on the 2501A, this metal guard, it goes over a portion of the chip, kind of blocking it here. And so you can't get the clamp on it good and get a good clamp. So what you got to do is you got to set this in here, because that'll help distribute the pressure on the chip, keeping it down. So when I'm usually doing this, I go out to the edge of the table. And I know this is probably a little hard to see. Let me get that up a little bit. I'll go out to the edge of the table right here, and I'll show you when I'm done. And I'll put this clamp on here, because I want to get up there as good as I can. And we're going to clamp this down. Okay. Okay. Perfect. So you see, I've got the pressure on there. Whoop, let me get up there a little bit. You can see it's locked down there. That's why I have the tape on here. And we're ready to go. So now, Let me back this up again. I'm going to zoom this back out so you guys can see. Properties, configure. Okay. So now we're ready to go. Oh. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to move to the Eflasher tip, and I'm going to get this thing all set up, and we're going to go from there. Okay, so now what we're going to do to get ready to go, you're going to need, we got to put the power supply back on, right? So we're going to take this cable, put it right back on. That is good to go. We are going to take the power supply right here. We're going to stick that on. And then, of course, we are going to hook up the cable here. Just like if we were putting it back together. Well, if I can get that damn thing in. So once that's in, then you want to clip this side. So boom, we've got all the power supply. Now we're ready to rock and roll. So what we want to do, you got to make sure that this little SD card right here is empty. And then you're going to stick it in the Eflasher like so. And you're going to put the clasp on. So now that's ready to go. Now when you are pulling a dump, you want to take the third switch and make sure that's up. Then right here is where the clip cable attaches. So you're going to take this. Oh, let's do that. And we are good to go on that. So last but not least, I am going to take, whoop, let me get that out of here, the power cable. And, well, the damn thing don't reach. So let me back this up a little bit. We're going to swing this out as much as we can because it doesn't have to be perfect. And we are going to take our power button. And we are going to start her up. So now, normally what you want to do is you want to wait about 30 seconds or so. If I had this hooked to a TV, as soon as it came up and said system cannot start, that's when you go ahead and start this deal. But since I'm not hooked to a TV, we're going to rock like this. That blue light's on, I usually just click it. But you'll see fans working, everything's going good on there. So now I'll usually reset it. There's a little orange button down here at the bottom. And then the top orange button right here, you're going to go ahead and hit that. And everything's going to go blank. So now what it's going to do, it's going to pull a dump. And you'll notice that the blue lights over here start lighting up and going across. If for some reason you did not get a good connection over here, this will start flashing and it'll give you an error code. But basically, all right, so see, now there's a bad connection there, so we got to reconnect that. So I'm going to pause that, and I'm actually glad that happened. Okay, so basically all I did was I took this clamp off, I readjusted that little spacer I have down there, and I retorqued it down again to make sure I had a solid connection. So we'll find out in 1 second if it's rock solid. "2001s, they're so much flipping easier just because you don't have to go through all that horse shit and there's nothing there. So again, and let's see how she goes here. This is going, listen, don't let this be an indicator of time. Normally by now I've already gotten the dump. And it's just, you know, for tutorial purposes, I'm going nice and slow and I'm kind of showing you everything. But this does go much quicker. There we go. So we got one dot. And it's going to basically go down the whole fucking thing until once it gets to the end, it's going to Knight Rider. Start going back and forth and blinking. And that's when we'll shut this off. This generally goes pretty quick. So we'll just give it another minute. I'm going to go ahead and run this live, and then I'll go ahead and stop it once it starts flashing. Then we're going to check the dump, and I'll show you how to do that, and I'm going to show you how to patch it. As you can see, it's moving pretty quick. Perfect. And you can see now it's blinking back and forth. So once you get there, I'm just going to disconnect the power. And I am going to pull the SD card out. Now, I will stick it in that. And we're going to go over to the computer. All right, so now we are at the PC. So I stuck the card in, and you'll see this is the bin folder that it pulled off there. So what you want to do is you're going to open up the PS3 flash tool, just like this, and you want to open up 4.9, and we're going to run it. And watch it. Sometimes he'll try and trick you and say, did you skip reading these terms? So make sure you look at it. Yes, I did. And we want to check that image. So I'm on the card. This is the bin we just pulled. We're going to open that up. Perfect. So listen, if you get this where the ROSO or the ROS1 hash, it says it's bad, it's fine. Don't worry about it. So what we're going to do now is we're going to close that. We are going to copy this. We are going to open up the Nornand Flasher. And you need to copy that into here, okay? You need to copy the bin into here. Now, once you do that, you're just going to drag and drop it right in there. And it's that quick. It's easy. So now, here's your patched bin. So what you're going to do now, and this is important, make sure you go back to the SD card. Whoop, we don't want to do that. We are going to delete all of this, because this is all clean. So now what we're going to do is we are going to take the patched bin. We are going to copy that. And we're going to put that on the SD. Now, it's named this so you know which one is patched. So you have to rename this. You're going to go in here. You're going to rename. And we're just going to put it back to where it should be. There we go. So now it's back to the regular bin. That's it, folks. That's how easy it is. So this is patched, byte reversed, and now all the permissions are in there so you can jailbreak your PS3. We're going to take that out. Let me get this back open here. And we're going to go back over to the PS3. All right, gang. So now we're going to take the SD card. And we are going to put it back in the Eflasher. Make sure that's all in there rock solid. And I'm not satisfied with that. Okay. So now that that's in there, we're going to go ahead and hit the power button. And hit the little rectangular button down there to go ahead and get that Reset. Now you want to make sure, I'll tell you, you want to make sure all your switches are down. And I'm going to reset that again. This is the most crucial part of the jailbreak, and I'm going to tell you why. If your power flickers or any of that horse shit goes wrong and you lose power to this thing, you will brick the console. Now, the good news is you can unbrick it because you actually have the bin file for it. So while it's a pain in the ass, it's not a death sentence. So again, we wait anywhere from 30 to 60 seconds to when you would see cannot start system come up on the TV. Now this takes a little bit longer. This is usually about 5 to 7 minutes. And again, all the switches are down, and we're going to go ahead and hit that top red switch. If for whatever reason you see some type of blinking error like we did earlier, do not shut the system off. We'll just adjust the crank right here and get the proper amount of pressure on there. But usually the longer it takes without seeing anything, that's a good sign. Once you see that first light, you're golden. So let's just take a second. We want to make sure that lights up. I don't know if you'll see better if I shut that off. This is the old school way, gang. You should have seen when we used to have to solder for the NANDs. But yes, you can jailbreak quicker if you use the web browser. I've even got a video. If you find a system and it's on firmware 4.84 or 4.85, where I show you how to do it through your web browser in case the tool set is down. But this is the true and tried and correct way to do it. And I say that only because it forces you to take the system apart, clean the system, there we go, we're in good shape, and actually repaste the chips, which again is going to extend the life of these things. Now, again, some of you guys still want to mod, the PS3 is still on. Again, I've said this too. You're not modding online unless you are on PC or you are on PS3. You know, I'm not talking about glitches or any of the horse shit. I don't know what the holdup is with the 4. I am not a developer. I don't know what the holdup is with the 5. There's a lot of cool shit you can do on those offline, but nothing like you can on a PC or even the PS3 once they're fully jailbroken. So I'm going to go ahead and let this go down, and then I am going to stop the video for this, and I'll just pick it up once it's flashing and blinking, and we'll go from there. All right, perfect. So you can see it's done patching it back. It's blinking back and forth again. So this system is jailbroken. So all I'm going to do now is connect the plug. You back that up a little bit. I'm going to take the Eflasher up out of the way. Remove the power button. Get this up a little bit so you can see this. I'm going to unhook the power button there. Take the power supply off. Remove the power cable over here. And we're going to remove the crank. All right, so now I'm going to take the fan out. Fan plug, and we're going to flip this bad boy over. Let me move this up a little bit where you can see this. Again, I always use the screwdriver on this. Get that out of the way. Set those out of the way. We're going to remove these pads. Pop that off. Get that out of the way. And now we're going to take the tape off. And the chip. One little trick I also do is you'll notice on here that I've got packing tape over this. I like doing that because when you crank down on it, it kind of reinforces the clip. These things used to be 20, 25 bucks, and you went through them like crazy, especially with these 2501s having to crimp everything over like that. So now, what we're going to do, I'm going to back this this camera up a little bit because it is time to clean the chips. So one of the things you want to do, and I've got a garbage can here. Let's see if you guys can see this at all. Let me move this back here. I'm going to take this rag, get some alcohol on there. And at first, I'm going to knock, there's like crust on each side. So I'm just going to kind of, and you can see a lot of that shit just falls off down there. And then we're going to rub these things clean. Voila. You can see now, whoop, let me get over here. These are all good to go. Squeaky clean, squeaky clean. Now once that's done, let me hit that a little bit more. Once that's done, you got to get the heat sink. You see it's got all that crap on there too. Now, I will tell you, if you are using a thumb drive to jailbreak or even the web browser, the BG toolset, you should still, if you want your shit to last, you should be doing this. Right? Nice and clean. So now what we're going to do, I'm going to pause this because I want to move the camera because I'm going to show you how quick we're going to slap this damn thing back together. And we're going to paste the chips. Okay. So now we're going to kind of start assembling this right before we paste the chips. So you're going to take the bottom frame, have the fan facing away from you, and you're going to set that on top. Now this just takes the two little black screws we talked about from earlier. You want to make sure everything's sitting on here flat. That's good. Takes those two and we got that in. So now what we want to do, we're going to go ahead and paste these chips. So usually what I'll do, I'll put a bead down each side here. Now the reason this is so important is because the thermal paste is what conducts the cooling to the chips from the heat sink. So as this gets old, dries out, and gets all flipping crusty and shit, the chips start running hotter and hotter. And here's your RXF chip, your RSX chip, or your graphics card. When you get the red light of death, or that's PS3, but the yellow light, or Xbox, the yellow light of death, this is what shit the bed. This chip goes. So it's very important to make sure that you're repasting these. And then again, I just go straight across. Now, I will tell you, can be generous with the paste. Somebody get in there. And I don't mind because I don't want to have to take this shit apart again, to be honest with you. Perfect. So, once you're done there, then what I do is I go ahead and I put a goop in the middle of each chip. And I actually ran out there. I'm going to quickly grab one more tube. That one was about done to begin with. And again, this is Corsair. Depending on what type you want to get, it doesn't matter. Arctic Silver, any of that stuff's good. So usually I'll put a bulb like right in the middle on these. And that's that. These things are going to run ice, flipping cold. So once that's done, take this, you're going to slick it in, and boom. All right, so now, again, you can kind of tighten these up if you want. I always finish the rest with a screwdriver. Okay, now we've just got to put the screws. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are going to be the little ones that go in the top case. My dog's in there going nuts. She's really going nuts. That's in there. There. And in case you forget, you probably can't see, but there's little arrows. Maybe you can't see that. See that little arrow? So where all these screws go, there's little arrows that let you know in case you do forget. And then we're going to go over here. Oh, come on, dude. What the hell on there? Okay. So now we're going to grab the case. We're going to pop this in here. You want to be careful of this cable. Make sure you tuck that in. There's little grooves in the case over here. And just make sure everything's underneath there. I'm going to pop in the power plug. There's a little hook there that clasps in. And then we're going to run the Wi-Fi cables. There is a W right here, so in case you forget, you know which one's white. And like anything, when I first started working on computers, like if I was tearing apart a motherboard, I would take a picture of when I started and during it, just in case, and that saved my ass a couple times. We're going to run these all the way down here. Like for instance, if this is your first time as soon as you get all this out, take a picture of it, and you can see which way the Wi-Fi cables go, just in case you forget anything. And we're going to plop this in here. Now for the pain in the ass part. Let me get that over there. Well, before the pain in the ass part. Next thing you want to do is the power button. Again, this just has a little tab that pushes right in. It's very easy to get in. I say that, and yet I can't see the damn thing. There we go. Once that's in, that actually tucks behind there. There's a little metal clasp right here. So make sure you tuck that behind there. Then we're going to get the Blu-ray drive. Now this is what I was telling you about when we started. They put the flipping tab right on the bottom. So you're going to need needle nose, and it goes, well, I don't want to blind you, but it goes right here. There's a clasp. So you want to make sure you pull the clasp up, because then what you're going to do is you're going to grab this with the needle nose. There's real, unless I had somebody else with a camera, I'm not going to be able to show you. But all I do is I take it like this, and I go down here, and I get it in. And once I get that bad boy in there, I push it in. There we go. And then I push the clasp down. Perfect. You can pop the power button in, just like that. That fits right in there. And then you've got these 3 tabs right here. Yeah, I think it'll blind you more than it'll show you anything. Oh, you know what? I'm glad I stopped. Before we do that, let me take that out of here. You've got these 5 little screws you got to put back in. See, even a pro like myself can forget shit. So you've got 1, you've got 2, you got 3. Those are all black. So why they had to switch these all up and do black and silver is beyond me, but they did. And then the 3rd one goes here. And then the 2 on the hard drive are silver. So let's get that in. Perfect. Now we go back to the pain in the ass again. And I say pain in the ass, but honestly with needle nose pliers, it's not that bad. So let me get this back in here. There we go. Then we pop this in. Now, I guess we could just throw this in real quick. There's a little black screw that goes right there. Now we're going to go ahead and hook up these ribbons. There's 3 of them back here. I'll tell you, my biggest problem, I don't have no flipping light. There we go, that one's in. And that one's in. So all 3 of those are now in. Now we're on to the power supply. So we've got all that set up. That's going to go in here. We're going to hook the wire up. Wire up. I need the 2 batteries or power supply screws. It's the little silver ones with the lip on them. Perfect. Boom, 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 boom. Time for the lid. Flip this bad boy over. We're going to slide the hard drive in. Whoop, the right way. We need the little blue screw. Again, I know I mentioned it earlier. If you want to put a bigger hard drive and you want to swap out, I wouldn't go no bigger. Look, it's supposed to be able to handle a 2 terabyte. I found the 1 terabytes run the best on there if you're going to go into a bigger one. So then we're going to put all these. Then, of course, you have the torque screws, which all go in the lip right here. So we're going to put all 4 of those in. And you don't have to crank these down super tight. Just make them snug. And we're going to put the rubber ones, obviously, those go in the corner. The little shitty plastic ones go in the middle. Or I should say, yeah, all 4 corners. Voila. Right? But I'm not going to stop on you yet. We're going to install the goddamn firmware. So I'm going to pause this. We're going to go over to TV, and I'm going to show you how to set everything up, downgrade this, and get to 4.84. All right, gang. So look, I'm not running this through my Elgato just because the PS3 dicks around and blacks it out and all kinds of shit. So we're going to do this ghetto style. So the first thing I want to show you, because this system is on 4.91, I've got my 3.55 right here. I've got my 3.55 version 3.7, and then I've got the 4.84. And on this one, I've got all the homebrew apps that we're going to be installing. But the first thing we need to do is we need to downgrade this to 3.55. So I am going to take the 3.55. We're going to stick it in here, and we're going to press and hold the button until it shuts off. Now, I've shown this in a million videos. Once it shuts off, you need to quickly power it right back on, holding down the power button. And then we're going to wait for the double beep, and then we'll take our finger off it. Perfect. Now, technically, we didn't even have to do that. But what's going to happen now, let me back this bad boy up for you. You can see it's asking to put the controller in. We're going to go down to System Update. It says, as you can see over there, 4.91 or later. Right there. And I'm going to press and hold the Start and Select buttons. And yeah, you see this sexy son of a bitch sitting in the background there. That's what you call a tease. I'm just giving you a tease. So you can see it's preparing to update. I'm going to let that go through its deal, and we'll pick it up there. All right, gang. So we've got this installed now. This is 3.55. And you will see, if I go down here to System Settings, we're going to scroll all the way down. System Information, we are on 3.55. So now we are ready for the 3.55 version 3.7. And the reason is that's going to correct the 999 error. But the first thing we want to do is we need to go to our Install Packages, and we need to install this QA toggle. So all you're going to do when that's installed is you're going to go to it, you're going to hit the X button. It's going to give us the triple beep. perfect. And then there's an easy way to check this. So what you want to do to make sure that it was successful, go over to your settings column. You want to go all the way down to the bottom so you're on network settings. Now, this is the tricky part. I'm going to kind of turn on the light and show you. You want to put both fingers on your L1, L2, R1, R2. Whoop. Holy fuck, I can't even remember this now. Oh, it's down, that's right. There we go. Wanted to make sure. So, it's L1, L2, R1, R2, both the top there. And then you want to push down on the D-pad. And you want to hit your left joystick. So it's kind of a claw here. But you want to hit them all at once. If it was successful in QA toggling, you will see your ED, your debug settings, and your install packages will show up. So we're good to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to shut this off. And now we are going to do the same thing we just did with the 3.55. We are going to install the 3.77, or I'm sorry, the version 3.7. And I'm putting it in safe mode again, same way I did the first time. Power button down till it shuts off. Quickly power it back on, holding the power button down again until you hear the double beep. So it's off. We're going to do this. And I'm only taking you through this because I want to show you the actual error code. There we go. So you'll see once you go down to System Update, it says install firmware 9.99. Now, obviously that doesn't exist, and this firmware is going to fix it. So you're just going to hit your Start and Select button, and we're going to let that rock and roll, and I'm going to pick it up as soon as it's installed. Okay, so we're all finished with this right here. And you will see, again, if we get over here. Whoop, don't care about themes. Boom. Now it shows that we're on version 4.25. So now we can go to any firmware we want. Okay, now in this case, I am going to be installing Rebug 4.84. It's just proven. It's rock solid. I've used it since it came out, and there is absolutely no need to change. But you can go whatever whatever firmware you want. Just understand, if you decide you want to go back down, you're going to have to do all this horse shit again. If it's something where you want to go up, then you're fine. So I am sticking 4.85 in here. And for the purpose of redundancy, I'm not going to record all this. I'm going to do the same thing I did on the prior two, and I'm going to install 4.84. Now, at the end of the video, I will on the computer real quick show you how the firmware should look on your thumb drive for those of you that don't, so that if you download this and you decide to do it, you're good to go. But we'll cover that at the end. Okay, so we've got 4.84 installed. Let's get up here. Let that get up. So this is what I do. Whenever I jailbreak a system, this is the first thing I do. So we're going to go over, delete the QA toggle. You don't need it. And then, again, I've got everything on my thumb drive. So you're going to go in, install packages, system storage, install the Rebug toolbox. Now, keep in mind, even if you use the web browser, the BG toolset to jailbreak, or, the thumb drive method, and you don't use this method, you can still pick up from right here, because I'm about to show you how to convert to DEX and install all your packages. So once that's done, we're we're going to go back to install, and now we're going to go standard, which is the root of my thumb drive. And the first thing I want to install is Webman. And then we're going to go back in. We're going to install Cappy. Now, keep in mind, this version of Cappy is specifically for this firmware 4.84. You may need a different revision if you install a different firmware. Then we're going to go back. I'm going to go to my PSN stealth patch. And lastly, I am installing Multiman. And I don't install the latest Multiman. I put 4.81 on here. So boom, this is what it looks like. We're all set up, right? So the first thing we're going to do, we're going to go into Rebug Toolbox because we need to convert to DEX. And we're going to switch our debug menu to DEX. Now, because we just did this and we downgraded, you'll notice the QA toggle is already enabled. Normally it's not, but in this case it is, so we don't have to mess with that. So you're going to go up a couple. You're going to go to dump the EID root key, and you want to hit yes. Now, it should pause like this and triple beep. If it triple beeps right away, you have to do it again. It's just one of them things. But this took long enough. Perfect. Now it's going to fire back up. I've also done other videos on this as well. And you definitely want to be on DEX. Now you're going to go back to Rebug Toolbox. Come on, buddy. Now we're going to slide over to rewrite target ID in Flash. Yes. And you're going to go right above it, and you're going to swap the LV2 kernel. And this is the same order I do all my consoles. Perfect. Now the next thing I do is I go down to Webman. Now you'll notice on the right as it goes, it says hold down L1 for full version or edition. And I do. I hold L1 and I press X. Now it's going to restart again. Now in order for it to be active, you actually have to restart the system again. So I just leverage installing Cappy to get that restart again. But you got to be careful. Up in the top right, you want to wait. It says Webman loaded. Wait till that disappears, because if you try to open Control Console before then, it'll black screen. So that's good. Okay, yes, and we're going to reboot again. Normally, again, I've drawn this out a little bit, but I can usually get all this done in about 30 minutes, 45 minutes, and then get to installing games. Okay, so now we want to let Webman load again, and we're going to go up to Webman Games, Webman Setup, and we want to go to PS3 Webman Setup. Now this is where you can set your fan settings. So I usually go up here. Well, didn't mean to do that. And I'm going to put this at 40. Boom, 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 boom. Now this is where you listen. I'm not going to do it on here because I don't have the ability to block it out. This is where you'll go in, check your IPDS, and then you'll go in and over in this box, it's going to be 70100, and now it's going to say 82. You need to go in and switch that to an 84, and then when you're done, you're going to go all the way to the bottom, and you're going to save it, okay? Whoop. And then it'll say click here to restart. So now we're converted over to Dex. Everything is set up. I do got to go back in and do the IPDS. And then the next move is I usually get to install in game. So what I'll do is I'll click on Multiman. I wait until I see the load thing, and then I plug in my 1 terabyte hard drive. Which I just did. And then we're going to go ahead and accept all of these. I'll let it go for a minute. Turn this music down. Whoa. So it's taken this long because I have the hard drive plugged in, which is normal. But you'll see it load up here in a second. And then by toggling your L1 or L2, you can change the layout. So you can see I've got all these games in here. So if I toggle again with my L1, this is usually the layout I leave it in. So depending on what you want, like I've got all the Call of Duty. I got a shitload of games. I got like 4 1 terabytes that have all the games on here. Since GTA 5's been back up, everybody wants it. So basically, I'm going to hit circle, copy to the hard drive. And that's it. It's going to do that, and then I'm going to do the update. So that's it, gang. You've seen A to Z. We took it apart. We cleaned it. We jailbroke it with the Eflasher, repasted the chips, put the bitch back together, brought it in here, downgraded the firmware, took it back up to 4.84, converted to Dex, installed our package files. This is the complete gamut. So I'm going to pause this now because I do want to get back to the computer, and I'm going to show you guys, for those of you that don't know, what the firmware, how you have to have the firmware on the thumb drive in order to get it to install. Because again, doesn't matter what method you used, you could take the second half of this video from installing the firmware to converting to Dex. And it doesn't matter how you jailbroke your console. You can use this as a refresher tutorial or to figure out how the hell to do it. So I'm going to rock. I'll be right back. All right, gang. So in closing, I've got my thumb drive in. And anytime you go to install firmware, this is what it should look like. When you open your thumb drive, on the root of it, you should have a folder that's named PS3. Okay? When you open that folder, you should have another folder that's named Update, all capital letters. And then when you open that folder, you will see I've got the firmware I use. This is PS3 updat.pup. That is 4.84 Rex. I also have on here 4.84 DREX. So in case I have a system that's already on DEX, then I would just install that firmware. So that's it. This is how it should be named right here when you're ready to install it. And that's whether it's 3.55, it doesn't matter. So you would go in, install the firmware, and that's that. So listen, again, if you've installed your jailbroke your system using the thumb drive or the BG tool set, here's the thing about it. If this is what you're into and you're messing with this shit all the time, again, these Eflashers used to be expensive, and they're not anymore. You can pick them up. People are selling them. They're used. It's cool as shit to mess with it. So not only once you tear a couple PS3s apart, you can do it blindfolded, but you can also fix them, and it really helps to tear apart PS4s, PS5s, because they have a lot of similar torque screws, different shit like that. But learning how to repaste your chips, you need to repaste your chips on your PS5, your PS4, after about a year or two. It's the same with a laptop. So, again, there's different factions of this video that may or may not apply to you. Again, if your system's jailbroken and you want to repaste your chips, go to that portion, watch it. It walks you right through it. If you want to learn how to convert to DEX, because a lot of people know how to do the jailbreak, and then they're stuck. It's like, well, shit. Or they stay on sex, which you don't want to be on. So you want to convert over to DEX? Cool. Now you know how to do that in 2 minutes. Install your games, install your package files. I'm going to put everything I used in this video in the description below. The download links will be directly from me. So I'm going to zip everything up. I'm going to put it in there. You'll have all 3 firmwares, the QA toggle, everything you're going to need on there. And then, again, I'm not going to put links to specific Eflashers, because if you Google it, you can get those anywhere. Just make sure it comes with the clip cable. And then everybody's got to have an SD card at this point. But I'm telling you, this is how you technically you jailbreak that right. And the big piece is because you have your dumps. You have your bin file, so God forbid anything goes wrong, you've got all that shit, and you can unbrick your system. So, without further ado, people, I am out. You guys have a good day. Later, bye.